such to catch up on. Let's see if I can do this. There we go. So it's been a bit. Took a vacation and took a break. I took a break and then a vacation. And really started reevaluating some things. I've still got some Signum 3s left, so I'll probably be fixing the website so you can buy them. And I do have a new design. Part of the reason why I took a break, well, really the only reason why I took a break, the reason why I took a break, because I was spending a lot of time on things that weren't my family, and my relationship with my wife, and I just stopped all my business meetings, stopped sales, I stopped development, and we took about a month off. So during that month we did have a vacation where we were in at my mother-in-law's farm, and I didn't touch any tech. I did touch my phone to pay the mortgage, but just nothing. I used an e-reader, and it really helped me realize what really matters. And I'm sorry to say, most of this does not. I mean, as it applies to human improvement, it does matter. Because when the chips are down, which I think they would be in America and possibly in the world in the future, your keyboard doesn't really matter, and your software doesn't really matter, and the code you wrote doesn't really matter, and your GitHub doesn't really matter, and your Twitter doesn't even matter, and almost anything you can do with a computer doesn't even matter. You know, I got to the point where I was looking at the squirrel hunting. I got to the point where I was looking at my laptop, like what does this provide? Like, what does it really provide that's important? I can't eat it. I can't grow it. I can't use it to kill game. And it makes very poor shelter. You can wear it as a hat. It's a poor hat. And just about the only thing that it does do and can do is facilitate knowledge transfer into this. You know, if I didn't have a computer and didn't have the internet and all that, I could go to a library and learn a lot of stuff. Through this period, I have been tweeting off and on, but I got off YouTube at home, and everything was, well, you can look at some of my tweets during the last month or so and get an idea of what I was keeping up on and what I've been focusing on. But just wasn't tech. There's also Owen Benjamin's live streams talking about just figuring things out and getting blackballed from Hollywood and making a living elsewhere and homesteading, like almost completely homesteading. And it's very, I don't know, it realigns your priorities. So it's happening at the, you know, it's a coincidence of all these things coming together at the exact right time, and it's making me question a lot of stuff. It's forcing me to unlearn things that I had learned long ago and held long ago and maintained up until very recently. So unlearning those things is very difficult, because you have to, you know, if a branch starts to grow and it branches out once, twice, thrice, you know, and it's its own thing at that point. If you need to go back to the base of that branch and chop all of that off, you might have to go back and say, is this useful? Is this useful? Is this useful? You know, it's if you're building something, building logical bases, and you start with, you know, A equals B, and you build from B equals C and C equals D, and you make all these associations, and then you realize or are told that A doesn't actually equal B. Well, you've got a tough road to hoe. Jordan Peterson's apparently a complete sham, or at least most of it. There's a lot of stuff that he repeats from people who are correct, but that one hurt bad. That was a lot of restructuring. For whatever that breakdown was, it did improve me, and it did improve my relationship with my kids and with my wife. You know, the last year and a half, maybe 2 years on Peterson lectures has made improvements in my relationships and my, you know, focusing on the things that I'm focusing on. So again, do I chop off at, you know, the start of that branch, or do I go through all those levels and go, is this useful? Is this true? Is this true? Not useful. Is this true? Yes, no. Is this true? Yes, no. And I might pick bits off and then graft them back onto the trunk of my ideology. But it's a painful, difficult process. And that was in conjunction to all of this stuff going on. So again, that it's a coincidence, a lot of coincidence of events. And I don't believe in coincidences, if I haven't mentioned that already. So this is a very interesting time in the Chinese proverb sense. Interesting times. But it's good. I have also, like, I'm not completely useless. I have always had I have always, like, gotten bored with computer stuff. I want to tinker, I want to mess around with stuff, I want to learn things. I love learning stuff on YouTube and then trying it out, building things, and like to look back at all that and say, okay, what provides, you know, a better connection to my community? You know, what builds my neighborhood? What builds my church? What builds my family? What builds my connection with God? What feeds my children? What protects my children? What makes safety in my neighborhood that kind of stuff. That's important. Twitter is not important. And further, I think that Twitter and social media, I think I've figured out what it is. It's a pressure release valve for things that you would normally be doing locally. So the president of America used to be not a very important role, and now it's like a worldwide role, and it's too much stuff. Previously, people would be involving themselves in their local community, making sure their neighborhood's in good working order, building friendships, building communities, building skill sets, raising barns, that kind of stuff. And now, instead of building that community face to face, you're building it with ones and zeros. I say that somewhat facetiously, but I was talking to my wife about it this morning. Ann Coulter, for all I know, doesn't exist. Ann Coulter could be an entirely digital representation of a person. Or an actress rather. But what she became as a celebrity personality, if you went back, you could probably go back a couple hundred years and then pick someone who's a big film star or big popular person, and the amount of people that would care anything about that person would be so little. And today those people are held up as representations of themselves, as proxies of themselves. The reason I talk about Ann Coulter is because she had a tweet or something a long time ago that I really liked, and I was like, wow, that's like an ideal for me. That's a representation of what I like and what I approve of, and what I want to be and what I want to accomplish. And I was like, cool. So it really stuck with me. And then I realized that, I'm revisiting all this stuff. She is literally a celebrity personality. She is basically a Kardashian, but for the other side. People on one side look at the Kardashians like, oh, I want to be that. That's so cool. And Ann Coulter's like, here I am, shooting in this very posed photo. Oh, it's so candid. I can't even believe someone caught this. It's so crazy. I'm just hanging out doing right-wing stuff. And it's like, oh, that's so cool. Man, that represents me. No. You should represent you. You should go to your local school board and be like, no, this is not what represents me. You should go to your city council and be like, why are you voting this stuff? This is not what represents me. It's just, none of it matters. And it's very sobering. Particularly because I have tens of thousands of hours probably in development of skills and technical abilities that don't matter. I'm literally moving ones and zeros around the world. And where does it matter? It matters where it turns into a source of value, or something with value. I don't know who coined the phrase, but we know the price of everything and the value of nothing. How much does that cost? Well, I know exactly how much does that new iPhone cost? Well, it costs $1,000. Oh wow. What is the value of the new iPhone? Well, what is value? And you can make an argument for what the value of that actually is, but the value of a new pair of sneakers or a shiny new gun, or just anything in our consumer-based economy, debt increases the money supply, but we're like, what is inflation? You know, what? Why would making more money make the money worth less? But we're in a fractional reserve debt-based economy. That was multiple digressions. So keyboards, huh? Like, I'm deciding if it is even of value to write a new firmware to get the experience and see if, like, microcontrollers could still be useful. What would they be useful for? Like, what is it directly useful for? For things that matter. For things that matter that don't involve the state. Yeah. Interesting times. This is haphazard, obviously, but I'll try to explain more, I guess. This matters, for the record. This matters more than any new product announcement. It's putting these ideas out, this conversation, it does turn into conversations via email. This matters. So I should keep it up.